Tonight, the White House announcing President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden are attending the Queen's funeral. But Biden is not invited to bring a delegation with him, which is a break from other state funerals for world leaders. This is we are learning more about the Queen's, quote, best friends, the two corgis who were always by her side. Tom Foreman is out front.
As much as her royal guard, royal family, and royal crown, the Queen's waddling entourage of Welsh corgis were a symbol known around the world, with a run of the palace and a place in her heart.
The corgis were a big deal.
Sally Bedell Smith has written extensively about the royal family, dogs and all.
They were just extremely good company for her, in good times and bad. And I think they made her laugh.
From her youth, the Queen loved animals, horses, hunting dogs, but the corgis were special. Her first, Susan, went along on the Queen's honeymoon, then became matriarch to a long line of pampered pooches, fed from silver bowls, walked incessantly, and playing a peculiar diplomatic role when the Queen met others.
Diana said they were like a little moving carpet that preceded her into a room. And whenever the conversation lagged in any way, the corgis could always be counted on to supply some point of conversation.
The dogs were not always so agreeable. The First Minister of Scotland recalled a dinner with the Queen when the lights began to fail.
My husband suddenly leapt up and darted across the room. Peter had spotted the cause of the flickering light.
One of Her Majesty's corgis was chewing through the cord.
They never bit the Queen, but they did bite some of her staff.
The Queen was known to have as many as 6 at a time, and when she crossbred them with dachshunds, she was credited with creating the Dorgie. At the end, though, the dogs in her company dwindled to just a few. The last are now destined to live with the Duke and Duchess of York, and perhaps, as this comic suggests, like so many people, they will miss the lady at the other end of the leash.
Some people closer to the royal family have said maybe the reason she liked her corgis so much is because she could go for walks with them, talk about her problems, and they didn't talk back. In fact, they didn't know or care that she was the Queen. Aaron?
That's right, and they couldn't leak. Right.
Twitter whistleblower Peter Mudge Zatko on Capitol Hill, detailing a slate of explosive allegations against the social media giant before the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Because Twitter leadership is misleading the public, lawmakers, regulators, and even its own board of directors.
Zatko describing what he said were widespread security failures and vulnerabilities that he says were overlooked in order to keep the platform profitable.
The company's cybersecurity failures make it vulnerable to exploitation. And when an influential media platform can be compromised by teenagers, thieves, and spies, and the company repeatedly creates security problems on their own, this is a big deal for all of us.
Zatko warning senators that there were no safeguards in place to prevent a single Twitter employee from taking control of their verified Twitter accounts, creating a national security emergency.
They don't know what data they have, where it lives, or where it came from, and so, unsurprisingly, they can't protect it.
Zatko was the head of security for the influential platform until he was fired earlier this year after he expressed concerns with security. In July, he filed a whistleblower complaint with Congress. After learning of the scope of the spam accounts and other alleged security failures, billionaire Elon Musk attempted to back out of his $44 billion offer to buy the company. The social media giant's shareholders voting to approve his bid. But speculation now that Zatko's complaint could give Musk the upper hand in his trial next month, which will decide whether Musk can abandon the deal.
He's been working on lawful disclosures since even December of last year, 2021. So his concerns arose well before Elon Musk.
Joining us now, the founding partner of media venture Puck, Matthew Bellany. He's a former editor for The Hollywood Reporter. Matthew, good morning. What jumped out at you last night? What were the headlines?
I think the headlines were HBO's dominance. I mean, last year we had Netflix take the lead over HBO for the first time and wins. But on the show last night, I mean, 12 wins for HBO, dominant on the broadcast. Netflix only got to 3 on the live broadcast.
Hey, Matthew, any surprises here among those who didn't win anything, Better Call Saul, stuff like that?
I think Better Call Saul not winning on the show is a big deal. Only Murders in the Building, the Steve Martin and Martin Short, Selena Gomez show. A lot of people thought that could win several times. Didn't get anything last night. And I think that was a surprise. But mostly the Academy adhered to their favorites, Ted Lasso, Succession, Hacks, like the shows that the Academy likes, they tend to vote for over and over again.
And Michael Keaton winning for Dope's Sake. It was great to see him rewarded for that extraordinary series. The thing is, Matthew, isn't it? I mean, there's so much good content out there. There's so many good shows that, yeah, some great performances and some great actors are not going to win, like Bob Odenkirk. If you look at his category, the list, it's Oscar winners and it's Bateman and it's the guys from Succession and all those. It's just tough out there.
And I think that's what made the win by Squid Game, by Lee Jung-jung. I mean, that was a tremendous win because not only is he the first actor from a non-English language show to win the award, he beat out some of the most honored actors in Hollywood, if you look at that list. And it's a pretty impressive feat. And I think that speaks to the popularity of that show on Netflix and really the global footprint that television has today.
Yeah, and Matthew, so right. These are sort of mainstream picks. My favorites, Only Murders, Severance, didn't really do too well other than Nathan Lane. So, Matthew, thank you so much for being with us. We're out of time, but we greatly appreciate you being here today. And Willie, just a reminder, all we have, what was it, is Paramount Plus and eating alone. A great line from Keenan.
I didn't see that last night. That was very funny by Keenan. All right.
Ryan, I'll start with you because are we getting the verdicts now? Are they coming in? Are they delayed? What's the timing? What's the deal? What do we know?
They are rolling in right now. Our producer, Gary, is sending them over to me. We've got a couple of guilty verdicts thus far. No not guilty verdicts, but they're still incoming right now. But this is a really important case, Hallie, because this is, of course, the judge, as you mentioned, who has acquitted at least one defendant. This is all has to do around what one judge called the Lady Gaga tunnel. It's that center of the inauguration platform where a lot of these most brutal battles of January 6 took place. There's one individual who's got the nickname Tunnel Commander, and he's sort of directing traffic in a lot of these videos. The other two have wielded police shields and actually used them against members of law enforcement that day. They are arguing essentially that wasn't a deadly or dangerous weapon under the law. So there's some complicated issues in this, but overall, I think this is a really important case to could determine the trajectory of where a lot of these cases go going forward, because you might see a lot of defendants, try to roll the dice and go to a potential bench trial before a judge here. If it ends up they get a mixed verdict out of this. So we're waiting. Yeah. We'll find out soon exactly how many of these guilty pleas will come down, Haley.
I want to go back now to our justice correspondent, Ryan Riley. We've been talking about this bench trial for several January 6 defendants. Significant because the judge who is determining the verdicts is the only judge who's ever acquitted a January 6 defendant. So the results here could set perhaps a strategy for other defendants moving forward. We know there have been, Ryan, 2 guilty verdicts so far, and I understand you have new information.
Yeah, so basically I'm going to go into what those guilty verdicts mean. So those first 2 that we've seen against those 2 defendants are some of the highest charges. They're assaulting counts, right? So these are the individuals who had those shields. So that's basically determined now. He's determined that those individuals participated in an assault on officers. It's a really high-level charge for them. The one that we're still sort of waiting on is this guy I mentioned before who was nicknamed Tunnel Commander because he's sort of directing traffic. And that's sort of a more interesting case because there's not as much direct evidence of him actually involved in an assault. He's more what the government says is he's more assisting and directing folks and contributing to that chaos that we saw on January 6th. He's essentially acting on the video here as a traffic cop. He's saying, hey, go in this way, go in that way. There's one moment where he gets a shield, he gets a stolen police shield, holds it up in the air and shakes it around as the crowd cheers. But that's not an active assault on law enforcement that we've seen. So I'm really curious to see in the next few minutes where that's going to come down, Haley.
You're